making it against the law would be beneficial to Marine King here in this series. As for now, we are going to be loading up onto Cloud Kingdom for game number 2, where Marine King, you said it perfectly, he has to deviate. He has to make some differences in his build here. Otherwise, he might end up just getting steamrolled again.
Well, the man who looked a little bit weak in game number 1, does he have it in game number 2? He is in the bottom left. His name is MarineKingPrime.
And spawning up in the top right-hand corner here as our purple Zerg. She's doing pretty well for herself. Creep spread was kind of scary, and then from there on, she took very, very nice advantages to take up pretty rapidly as well. She goes by the name of AcerScarlett.
AcerScarlett just looking amazing. Just absolutely phenomenal in game number 1. And, you know, Ohana, like you were saying, is like the ideal creep spread map. It's the map where the spreading of the creep hurts all them Terrans. But on Cloud Kingdom, I think we're really going to have the true demonstration of Scarlett's phenomenal creep spread. This map is very tough to spread creep on, but Scarlett does it like it ain't no thing, and Mr. Carroll.
And Scarlett here, taking meticulous control at the very earliest stages. This is something that does go under just missed a little bit right now, but Scarlett was using the mineral trick to just be more efficient with the mining. So you rally it up to the minerals, and then you rally it to the minerals, and it's, you get a few more minerals for your worth. So Scarlett just taking every single stage of the game very seriously, where normally people would just be spamming.
Yeah. It's so true, you know. I will say it's when you start off the game, it's so easy to just be overwhelmed by the amount of decisions you have to make. You don't even have any extra brain space to tell your hands to spam. Yeah. And then you slowly automate some of that thought process, and you can do the spam to keep your hands warm for the late game. And then, like, the super pinnacle of that is where you are just infinitely aware of all the little things you need to do, and suddenly spam is replaced by useful actions literally starting even before the 1 minute mark.
Yep, so now we have the spawning pool on the way here for Scarlett, grabbing expansion where she can, and again, you do see Scarlett going for good creep spread on maps like this, but it's not as ridiculous. It's not knocking on people's doors at like the 12, 13 minute mark, but it can be knocking on your opponent's 4th location at that mark, which is something that Zergs have been doing a lot of recently, just spreading it down to that 4th location where Marine King would normally want to expand. And from there, you know, it adds the extra hassle to try and secure that little economic lead that Marine King would want.
Oh, I'm thrilled to see the double gas, because that implies Hellions. And, you know, Hellions are like bacon. They can't possibly be bad, right?
Yeah. Unless creep spread has already gooped up the entirety of the map, and as such, Scarlett just doesn't care about the Hellions. Unless that happens.
Unless that happens, then that certainly affects the flavor of bacon. Now, Scarlett is, I think this is, no matter what style you want to go for, getting 4 queens, I think is the best opening on this map, with maybe the exception of, you know, things like very fast roach plays. For aggression. Those actually work reasonably well, but I say the 4 queen play because you have a cramped entrance, it's easy to defend with queens, and spreading creep up to the 3rd base is so critical. So, again, creep spread, pretty tough to execute proper on this map.
I must say I'm enjoying the topic of discussion for today's cast in the form of bacon. If we can just have this be the IronSquid bacon group, then I'm quite happy with that. Bacon.
Yeah. Again,
nobody's upset with bacon, right? Nobody's upset.
I mean, Ohana, the Korean word for bacon, as you point out, Valaris.
And Cloud Kingdom, actually structured on a piece of bacon. If you look at the curvature of it, this is what inspired Superman to create this map.
So we do see the usual Hellion Banshee play coming out of our good friend MarineKingPrime, as pretty much all Terrans are wont to do on this map. But the most critical thing for Hellion Banshee to pull off on this map is to delay the creep spread. This is so essential versus Scarlett specifically. That is the tremendous struggle in this opening stage.
Yeah, you have to limit this. If you don't, you're going to be in Frown Town. You're going to be in Brown Frown Town, as we had poor Mr. Tasia falling into in the previous series. And somebody pointed out in chat, actually, that Artosis isn't too happy with bacon. And I learned this in Singapore. It's well, I knew it before, but it's true. He doesn't like bacon.
Yeah, actually, Artosis is a vegetarian.
Yeah, that was weird. When we were at breakfast, he like if you looked at his plate and you looked at my plate, because I eat like no vegetables, we just decided we were both complete opposites, and it was pretty horrendous for both of us looking at each other's breakfast. It was a bad thing.
Together you can combine your diets and get something that's healthy.
Together we can combine to create one normal human being.
So it looks like we see that good old Hellion harassment going on from MarineKingPrime. Exactly as he needs to do. 1-1 already en route. Creep spread continuing upward towards that base for defense.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. But actually, it's weird because you oftentimes don't see Hellions killing off queens, but actually they have a legitimate possibility of killing off one or two if they want to stick around and lose a few of their Hellions. But, ooh, actually these two SCVs that Marine King has brought with him are so cool.
Yeah, this is what makes Marine King really fun to watch when he starts getting aggressive. Standard types of aggression with that Marine King flare with the repair in right now. We see that the Speedlings doing some significant damage as well, and that bite transfuses en route, but oh gosh! Loses the key piece to the puzzle, which is the Banshee. Once that goes down, it's going to be a difficult continued aggression play, but wow, Marine King breaks right on through, and Scarlett's down to 2 queens.
Oh, this is exactly that 7, 8, 9 upwards mark that you were talking about here, where the Terran can actually punish this kind of third base, and on Cloud Kingdom it's a little more open, so there is that room to punish it. He's going to try and micro back once again with the Hellions here. That's a lot of Speedlings, though. She can easily surround, and she does catch a few of them, cleaning up the rest of it. But there's still another Banshee here. Where'd that come from?
This is always the situation that I'm worried about for the meching player specifically. Now, all of a sudden, the meching player has very little avenues to apply pressure. This one Banshee needs to do a big job of killing stuff off, because right now we don't really have much defense at the front for MarineKingPrime. And even though this Banshee is, annoying, it's actually really all that MarineKingPrime has in terms of putting pressure on Scarlett. Scarlett's already getting 2-2, already en route to the infestation pit.
But she can somehow get that hatchery, but no, she will be pushed back. Marine King even will be pushed back for now. I say she because Marine King always picks girls' names for every single alias. So we have another Banshee on the way here. Marine King still putting on a lot of pressure. Actually, he's going to try and take down the queens as well as a few Zerglings. I think he should still be focusing down the hatchery, but it's so hard to make work after you've done that much damage to it, with those Overseers now hanging around to thwart the Banshee's pressure.
So, I like a lot of the Hellion Banshee swift transition into Marine play, because you'll have an attack in about another 3 minutes that can catch your opponent quite a bit off guard. But the whole issue with doing the big... So first of all, Hellion Banshee, which, as we can see, it helps you defend your third. It can attack a third, but for every Hellion and Banshee that you build, you are weakening your late game push. You don't really want a ton of Hellions to pile up early. You want to get those Thors started, or those tanks, or whatever transition you have planned. So the fact that we saw MarineKingPrime lose his whole army at that third means that he has to rebuild another whole another whole Hellion Banshee army just to not die to a counterattack. And then he can go into mech. So as we see, the mech play is quite late. It's going to be around 13 minutes when 1-1 finishes. Yeah. And ordinarily, we want to be done with 2-2 by like 14 and a half, 15 minutes.
Oh, God. And Scarlett is actually taking full advantage of the tactic that Marine King is actually going to be trying to go for here by going for that Hive Spire at this time. And there's not really a whole lot of room where Marine King can push out across the map with Thor Hellion. He can harass with Hellions, but he can't do full, massive, impactful damage. So this Hive and Spire are going to finish up and going to be good to go before Marine King is actually fully finished with accumulating his Thor Hellion structure.
Yeah, we see the creep spread is, once again, just stupidly high. Just looking absolutely remarkable. Barrel, aka MarineKingPrime, trying his best to catch on up, but the only real difference between this game and the last game, other than the aggression, is that Scarlet is getting that sort of contingency Roach Warren up just to make sure that there's not too much difficulty dealing with the surprise Thor push.
Yeah, and again, as the Zerg, you also have to attribute the fact that Banshee production is still continuing in this tactic. This is something that, you know, MVP really made are very, very popular in the scene. Just adding on a lot of Banshees throughout. It adds that extra little dynamic to the army that your Zerg opponent has to deal with. Fungals and infested Terrans can shut it down, but you have to be very meticulous about that placement in dealing with it. And we even see some Zergs trying to go for Corruptors here to try and deal with it. It's something that's not added on too much nowadays, but does come along with those Great Aspire plays, obviously.
Well, here comes the engagement #1 of this game. It looks like Scarlet will not be able to really take this out. Has to play a little bit cautiously, throwing down infested Terrans, trying to pick off Banshees one at a time. The engagement doesn't go really too good for either side. Some of the Banshees were lost. Thors continue to march forward, but two of them have decided to abandon their post and stay back home.
I think the pivotal play, I mean, well, actually, it's still continuing. More Fungals actually hit down on some of those Hellions. But one of the pivotal plays there for Scarlet was bringing the Queens along. Just having those in order to take out a few of those Banshees, eliminating a little bit of that extra dynamic, despite not having full Infested Terrans and Fungal laying down across the Banshees. And it's so important to have that in your arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, the Queens really underutilized in mid and late game for just their ability to shoot up.
Yeah.
The creep spread from Scarlet continues to be miraculous. Is already creeped up the leftmost base. It's very close to creeping up the rightmost fourth base as well. But we see Scarlet continuing to add on more and more and more and more roaches. Marine King trying to find an opening window to attack. 2-2 is just now finishing at the close to 17-minute mark.
And those Broodlords are now on the way, which is a very, very scary thing to deal with. Thors with 2-2 or 3-3 can deal with them quite heavily, but it all relies on having enough Thors, as well as the Broodlords, to actually be slightly clumped up to deal with that. It actually has secured himself quite a nice spot here across this fourth location. Could take out this hatchery, and I'm assuming should just retreat from here, but it's hard to retreat with mech sometimes.
And they're losing that base. As much as it stinks, it was not a big deal in terms of the overall loss, because now Scarlet sprints forward with a perfect army mix to crush this very easily. The Queens sprinting up instantly kill those Banshees. Oh my god, Scarlet just rolls this and will now have the opportunity to not double but triple expand the top left very easy. And oh yeah, there it is. We already see another hatch getting planted up at the top left. I mean, the art of exploiting the immobile mech army cannot be understated. You can easily get way more of an advantage than you think is even possible, just by stupid expanding.
Hellions are going for some pressure in this natural here, but they won't get too much done with the rest of these surgeons. Eventually going to nibble away as well as those infestors on the way to shut that down. Nice Fungals will lock that, but a few drones will go down. So Marine King's actually killed off 27 during this whole game, and as you said, taking 3 extra expansions. And one of the things that is really cool that we see from Scarlet in some of these engagements is the positioning of infested Terrans. She positions them behind the Thor so they can't escape. How annoying is that for a Terran?
Yeah. I mean, and of course, a lot of times the Terran army will be a little out of position.
Yeah.
Not tremendously, but just slightly. And then you can move the Hellions right behind the Thors and just rip apart the Broodlings that are trying to nibble away. But of course, if there's infested Terrans there, it also too blocks the Hellions from getting in optimal spots.
Yeah. It's really, really nice control. Marine King still, though, is up in terms of supplies, getting a good composition of Thors, Hellions, and Vikings right now. With that 3-3 finishing up very soon, going for a little bit of harassment with 1 Hellion up to the north. Getting a few kills for its troubles, 4 in total. And
ooh, 6 Broodlords in production. We see there's a good chunk of Vikings there, but I think with especially with the Queens now coming to the front lines and 9 infestors. Wow, 5 Queens, 6 Queens there at that entrance. I mean, this is going to be really cool to see in action.
Chance fuses are so cool in these engagements. Fungal locks a lot of those Vikings down. They're going to go down pretty quickly if that continues to chain. But actually, look how quickly the Broodlords are falling to the Vikings and the Javelin missiles. But I don't think it'll be enough. All the Vikings are all but gone. There's just a few more trying to wiggle their way back, and the transfuses have been sublime here for ScarLett. Right now, this mech force is completely out of rust.
I mean, ScarLett is just wrecking this front entrance. And then with the Queens there, the Vikings are falling swiftly too. I mean, this is just an incredible attack, but Marine King is not giving up on this base. He's continuing to micro exceptionally well. This planetary fortress is actually not quite falling. It's really close, but we see that it's picking off a lot of the Broodlings. Nope, it gets taken down. But as ScarLett continues to shove in here, we're seeing that Marine King is slightly in better positions over time. But with this expansion down, I mean, even though all the Broodlords are now officially dead, I mean, MarineKingPrime is also looking officially dead too.
Yeah, his income is not looking too up to scratch with ScarLett. It will be all right because of the fact that he's going to throw down a few mules here to keep it going. But with that, still, does he have enough infrastructure and production across these 3 bases, which will be just 2 bases now, or even just 1? As I mean, his main and natural are both looking very, very mined out right now. He has to get this 4th base up, and I would say even a 5th, maybe.
Wow, ScarLett is just in total control of this game. I mean, top left, done. The 4th base for ScarLett at the top left. Isn't mining out of one of the extractors, but that's fine, because there's a 5th base at the far right. 6 bases for Zerg. Can easily take a bottom right 7th, starting very soon, especially given that the creep spread is getting quite far down there as well. I mean, this is the issue that you'll always deal with as mech. Your army might be powerful, but your Zerg opponent can easily build a cost-inefficient army and just rebuild it hundreds of times.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you really have to balance as a Terran. It's a hard thing to do as well. I mean, against what we're seeing from ScarLett here, she's exhibiting very, very strong play. And can Marine King stay sturdy? He has to somehow get such cost-efficient trades off right now to also put pressure on his opponent's expansions. He's trying to with Hellions up to the top left. I don't know how successful it's going to be.
I would venture to say that it will be unsuccessful, dear Kalaris.
Okay.
I mean, we're seeing that even with that damage dealt, this Broodlord, Corruptor, Infestor army is gigantic at the south side, continuing to pile up. And I mean, Marine King, what are you going to do? Marine King is making Viking, Thor, Raven, like literally everything humanly possible that is anti-air. And ScarLett is soon going to be able to bank up enough. There's 29 larvae on the map. Injects still a plenty on all the hatches. We'll be up to, what, 60 larvae and can just shove out with a ton of roaches?
And I think she's going to make some spine crawlers as well here to make this even harder for MarineKingPrime to try and break. This location is so pivotal right now because if ScarLett can just keep camping it, she can slowly move forwards and be very, very annoying with those Broodlords.
Wow. ScarLett easily just taking the spine crawlers up at the top left. Roach picks off the Hellion harassment. Total workers killed off. 47 now for MKP.
Yeah, and we have, for now, just the extra Thors on the way. There's actually a lot of Thors being added into this mix. 9 on the field, 12 more. Well, it's going to go up to 12 in just a little bit as we have the double spy upgrades on the way for ScarLett, gearing up for that super late game. So even if she doesn't kill MarineKingPrime right here, right now, she can still transition on furiously with those phenomenal upgrades. But it looks like MarineKingPrime is actually just going to push in. Nice fungal, actually, catches so much of that. Stacks up on those Hellions as well. They're not tanking too much.
Oh my goodness, ScarLett with spore crawlers, even at the front lines. Queen's now stepping in, getting ready to do some of those transfuses. And it is just looking like true Zerg form. We're seeing the supply count dwindle rapidly for MarineKingPrime. And now with the Broodling, Infestor, Queen, everything's just wrecking this 4th base yet again. I mean, there is going to be no way to defend this for MarineKingPrime. Getting completely decimated yet again. I mean, ScarLett is playing flawlessly against MKP.
Yeah, very, very well done indeed. Almost, is 100 supply up right now as ScarLett can fall back, still limiting the Terran to 3 base. And I think that's just been a tactic all along. Just sitting back, doesn't really care too much. The income behind this, very, very strong, doubling Marine Kings right now. Marine King, he's trying to recoup all of that anti-air, but it's still just not enough. Even when he had a ton of Vikings, a ton of Thors, everything just kind of got broken.
Now, I want you to just take a look at the mini-map and see how much purple there is there. In fact, look at this missile turret that's just sort of hanging out in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere. I mean, it's about to get overrun with creep, and in fact, in Heart of the Swarm, creep actually expands up along buildings, so I'm pretty thrilled to see that.
Wait, does it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Pretty gnarly, eh?
yeah, that is pretty cool.
And there we see MarineKingPrime trying to make his final stand, but now we have Broodlings on creep. We're seeing the Spore Spines actually burrow and take part in this battle. The map completely covered in purple. Good game. Scarlet wrecks MarineKingPrime 2-0.